drum roll, please. Who's ready to get the party started? Let me get a sound check, please. Anybody out there? Give me a sound check. Make sure the sound's working. Because it's going to be one of those things. Okay. Let me check out a couple things. Looks like I've got some chat box issues. Maybe. Don't know why. Sounds good. All right. Landfill is in the chat. Welcome back, Landfill. Looks like we got Total's War Masters and King Minecraft also. All friends of the channel. Great to see you guys back. I appreciate you guys for joining the stream. This is going to be a great one. Let me promise you. I have got a lot in store for this one, and I'm very excited about it. And yeah, so let's just get things set up. How are you guys doing today? It has been a crazy ride for me lately. Luckily, here I am. I'm going to hopefully have some things leveling out for me soon. I've been quite busy, very busy actually, over the last month. So if you've noticed a little tick back in the content, that's why. Also, I haven't even been able to really get on YouTube a whole lot or anything else. I've been on dibbling and dabbling a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And you guys know I'm a big multiplayer guy, and I'm not even been able to get on multiplayer as much as I usually do. For those of you that have me friended on Steam, you would probably notice my hours have dropped back a smidge there. Field Marshal, how are you doing? Luke King, appreciate you guys for joining us in the stream. Guys both have channels. Make sure you check out both of their channels. Landfill is very tired, I know, but I am going to make an exciting one to keep you up late into the midnight hours, Landfill. I've got plenty to cover here, so this is going to be a pretty cool stream. I think we've hit on it a little bit in streams in the past, so I'm not going to try to duplicate too much information because we have, when we discussed the Empire 2 stream back a little while ago, we touched on several topics, so I'm going to try and talk about some things again without duplicating him, even though I just duplicated what I just said because I said I wouldn't duplicate, and then I just said that I duplicated the you get what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm not going to try and do any more of that. And Landfill is very tired. All this is probably going through his tired brain all confusingly. I'm doing great, Field Marshal. Thank you for asking. And so let's jump on into this wild ride. Obviously, I like candy. I do too. I like redheads as well. I think that's in a different whole category though. But anyways, as you guys have known, Rome has brought out Total War into the remastered stage with remastering Rome Total War. I have already purchased my copy, and hopefully some of you guys have also. That way we can show support of this, probably one of the most beloved Total War titles out there. Rome Total War is the one that I first got into the Total War franchise with, and then obviously I followed along all the way up until Medieval 2, as those are where my interests lie. But I think Rome being remastered says a lot about CA. Number one, they want to make money. Number two, they are trying to improve the product that they already have put out, which is a definite positive for us being the gamers and also us that have already owned the game. Obviously, we have to pay a little bit more for the upgrade, but I think it's a fair option when you consider all the DLC going on. And I mean, it does cost money to produce these upgrades. I'm not sure how much. I'm obviously not in their financial department to be able to tell you. I'm not their CFO, so I don't really know for sure. Yes, Landfill says he can't wait to get his hands on more Remastered. Totally agree. So basically what this discussion is going to be about, we're going to kind of talk, we're in the intro stage of this. You can follow along on the left-hand side of the screen as we go through all these things. And I think I've got some interesting topics that you guys are going to find pretty cool. Some of you guys may have thought about, some of you have thought about. So yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. Money is nice as well. I totally agree with you there, Nicholas. Okay, so speaking of money, we're spending money on these remasters, and obviously we want to see a return on our investment in making the games a little more improved upon. And I think I have a case for why Empire should be the next game that they remaster, and I'm pretty convinced that this is the direction CA should take. Now, that doesn't mean they will take it or that they will even consider that, because I just want to talk about first, there's a lot of YouTubers out there making videos on Rome Remastered, what games they should make next, blah, 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 all that. That's not really what this is about. This is about us discussing it and really coming together to see what we want. If somebody from CA does happen to see this, that's awesome. Maybe we can help give some input to them that they might not have already thought of. I'm sure that they do have somebody. I do know that they have somebody that goes through probably message boards and does community research, because obviously you want to listen to your customers as they help you to provide content that makes them want to purchase things, obviously. King Minecraft, how are you doing? I'm going to break through to the chat for just a moment. King of the Kingdom, Strin is back. Yep. And Nicholas, Total War is good. Total War is good indeed. Now, again, I'm not alone today. I am here with the live chat, so please do not forget to hit us up in the live chat and let us know what you're thinking as we do go along in this discussion. Over here, it's backwards for me. Over there in the corner, we're going to be talking about all these topics. So I think we got the introduction out of way, so we can shift topics and say intro is done. We can now go in and start talking about some things, the cut content of the original game, Empire Total War, and why does this matter for Empire Remastered if it was to be made, and why it should be made, and why that some of this content should be looked at. So we're gonna dive into this, if you will. This is something we have touched on a smidgen before in the past, so we're gonna just drive through this really quick and discuss it. Now, as you guys are aware, I'm sure some of you are, there was content that was supposed to be an Empire Total War, the one that you guys all probably play, that is no longer in the game. Now, I'm not going to bother to show all the stuff. There used to be a video many moons ago, this one right here, but if you click on it, it is no longer available. I have done it in my Empire 2 stream. I did show you some of the video footage, so you can check out that Empire 2 stream if you do want to see some of that. But for the sake of time and due diligence, we're going to just discuss this. So in the cut content, there was animations that were made for certain things. Some of those things are down below, so we'll talk on those. Formations was another thing. The formations that they're discussing, there was a prone position set that you could put your light infantry into. So you not only had your standard formation, you had your light infantry doctrine, and then you would have prone position. And that also ties into down here below the technologies. There was other technologies that you could research as you went through the ages, because obviously Empire spanned a pretty large time period. So you obviously would want to go through the technologies a little bit more and have a little bit more. So that's kind of some of the things. Now, also diseases were supposed to be added in. Things, obviously, during the 1700s and through a lot of wars. But a lot of diseases were happening to the armies as they marched through lands that caused the most of the casualties that the armies faced. So I think that was supposed to be a thing where you would have attrition as your armies marched, which would have been a pretty cool thing. I'm not sure exactly what their plans were on that, but it was going to be added into the game. And I know they have added it in later games. Disasters, they were going to have disasters that would befall your nation, such as hurricanes in the Caribbean. You could have earthquakes, blah, blah, blah. All these natural disasters were going to be set up in the game that would have probably damaged some of your buildings, just as you probably have your spies with the ability to damage buildings. I think that's what they were planning on doing with the disasters, is that if you got hit with a hurricane, your imperial palace would get destroyed, something to that nature. So I'm going to scoot over the chat here just a second so I can catch up to that, and then we'll go through a few more of these. Let's see. Landfill says, I don't think I will be able to get past cut content before being forced to bed. Well, I guess this we should get past the diseases and disasters part before you go to bed. Okay, let's see. We're going to get on some of these other ones. Luke King says, check Total War Wiki for Empire. They have a lot of cut units. That is cool. And disease is awful. Yes, disease sucks. Secben Janissaries, Provincial Line, Infantry. Yeah, Luke, that's great. I think, Luke, you should probably do a video on that. I think that would be great, and you guys could check out some of his content on his channel as well. Landfill says, would the disasters be like Medieval 2 and always cause storms and other stuff against your large armies and navies? I think that is a possibility. I'm not sure exactly what it is because they don't really have a lot of details on what was the exact intention of the natural disasters, how it was supposed to be taking place. We don't really know a lot of the facts there. Now, I can tell you that they did have, I believe, promotional artwork and stuff on it. But other than that, I don't know. Prisoners were also going to be a thing. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was an older game that was pre-Empire, and even, I think it came out maybe at the same time as Rome, but if not, it might have even beat Rome's release, which was Imperial Glory, which spanned the time period of the Napoleonic Wars, and it's kind of a predecessor to Empire Total War, and it was a fun game at the time. I would say that Empire surpassed it in pretty much every aspect, so going back and playing it is still pretty fun, but it definitely doesn't hold up to what Empire can give you as far as enjoyment. But some of the things that Imperial Glory did right is you were able to actually capture artillery. You were able to capture ships just like you are in Empire. And you were also able to capture prisoners. As you ran them down with your cav, instead of killing them, you would actually capture them, which was a pretty cool thing. So that is that. Now, occupation options. I know we have that in later Total War games, where you have options where you can choose how you want to occupy the region as you take it over, which I think would be pretty cool. Because we do know that forcing puppet states was something that Napoleon did as he took over regions. So that would have been a cool option. I do love the protectorate part of the game. for Empire. I think it makes the game all the more fulfilling as you kind of work through your empires, is trying to control protectorates. That to me makes the game a lot more fun. Royal family trees, I know that's something that's very popular with a lot of people, and of course technologies we discussed on. So all these things left out of the game, I think they could definitely look at the possibility adding some of those things in if they did do a Empire Remastered. So one thing I can say about it is if they did add some of that in, some of the ones that I would prefer to see the most would be prisoners, and also the ability to add in the occupation options. I think that would be a huge plus to Empire. The royal family trees, all that is in there. That would be also very cool if they could go back and add that in. As we know from seeing what we are seeing from Rome, they added in several new things to Rome. So these things are already there. It just needs to be tweaked and fixed and added back in. So it's not like it's impossible because it's already worked into it. So that is the cut content aspect. What do you guys think of that? Is that something you would like to see added into Empire Remastered? Is this something that makes your mouth water for wanting to sink your teeth into Empire Remastered? Is adding that cut content, having your light infantry be able to get into the prone position, and this kind of stuff, does that make you just get hungry for what the possibilities are? The occupations auction would be the best one in my opinion, says Landfill. I think that you're right. I think that would definitely add a lot to the game, because just going through, burning through, grabbing regions sometimes gets a little boring. Adding that aspect where you have a little bit more dynamics to how you control your empire would be all the more enjoyable in my opinion. So that being said, if you guys don't have anything more to discuss on the cut content, I think we can push right along. Landfill's heading off. I appreciate you for joining us, Landfill. Of course, this will be available for later for you to check out. As always, I appreciate you joining. All right, so we're going to get right in. We're going to go through the cut content. We're going to say that is we've covered that. If you do have any more comments, hit them up in the comment below. Again, we are not alone today. We are here with the live chat, so don't forget to hit that chat up and let us know what you're thinking as we go through this. So, other things that would need fixing if we did get an Empire Remastered, things that are critical to the game is actually optimizing Empire. Getting it optimized. As far as I'm aware, it's just not an optimized game. And also the UI, the user interface is pretty lacking in Empire for several reasons. Number one, it gets very cluttered. I like what they have done with Rome, cleaning up the screen for your user interface. It looks nice and just modernized and cleaned up quite a bit. Now, the other thing with UI that I would like to see improved, to me, the most important thing if they're going to mess with the UI is fixing the ability to sort your unit cards. So what I'm kind of talking about is if you recruit a whole bunch of units, the AI or the user interface actually puts them in a certain order. Of course, the general will always be first, but then it's kind of like a random order for all your other units. And it makes it difficult when you go to battles to be able to keep your men organized on the battlefield. Now, if you've watched me and you watch me play multiplayer, you know I like have my unit cards at the bottom, all organized. So meaning I always put my general first, then my 2 light infantry or however many light infantry I have. Then I put my cav, and then I put all my different line infantry units, my guards, all that together. And I do that, and I order them left to right as I position them on the battlefield. That way, if I need to go to the unit card to select a particular unit, I know exactly where that unit card will be, so it makes it faster for me to get to it, to be able to maneuver my guys about the battlefield, which is very important when we're talking Empire Total War. So, King says, they said they add co-campaign, but never did. That's a great point, Minecraft. That's a absolutely great thing. We did miss that on cut content, so I'm glad that I saw that you put that in the chat. The co-op campaign, that actually is available if you did get keys, but the problem is only people at that time period have the keys, so, and only people that requested them. So there's some of my friends have keys, but I do not, because I didn't request them, because at that time of my life I was extremely busy with work and I never sent a request in to get the keys, so that I could play a co-op campaign. Even if you do happen to have the keys and you are somehow miraculously able to find another person that does have a key that you can play a co-op campaign in Empire Total War, the next problem is that it is buggy as hell and it always crashes by it desyncing. So that brings me up to another thing. That, you know, I guess that kind of goes into the fix this please thing. So we'll get to that in the fix this please, but we're going to hold on to that little nugget of information, and we're going to get back to that in just a moment as we do. So co-op campaigns, we're going to discuss as we talk in the fix this please section. We're going to discuss that a little bit more. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because it does kind of tie in with other things that I want to discuss. So that's a great comment, King. Also, guys, don't forget, again, I don't want to over stress this, but the live chat is there. If you guys, please, I'm not alone. You guys hit up the live chat. Let me know what you're thinking, and then that helps us with this stream. All right, so optimization and UI. So we're discussing the UI. So obviously getting the unit cards where we can move them into order as we want to keep ourselves organized on the battlefield would be extremely important as far as the UI is concerned. To me, that is the most important thing that needs to be fixed on the UI. Optimization, obviously it goes without saying. Napoleon was optimized, and it is a much smoother and very beautifully flowing game. You know, obviously you guys know that have been with me for a while. Napoleon is not my favorite game, and there's several reasons why. It feels shrunk down. It feels like it is just it's like you're let me see if I can explain Napoleon with a nice description for you. So if Empire is your first wife that you married, and she's really hot and she's a beautiful redhead, and you know she's like the first love of your life, and you know things just maybe didn't work out. Maybe she died, something happened to her, I don't mean to be morbid, but then you move on to the next wife, which is Napoleon Total War, and you're always questioning, like, why can't she do this like the other game could, and so you're always kind of comparing Napoleon to the previous wife, and maybe it's not fair, but Napoleon, to me, that's the problem. It's like your second wife that just falls short of the first, and I guess that's the best way I can describe that. I seen E. What's up, man? I'm awake now and semi-live. Missed the first 20 minutes. That's okay. I tabbed out. Why are we talk about this? I'm talking about optimizing Empire. Talking about how Napoleon is optimized and Empire is not. And I was discussing that basically. So that's what you're walking in on. Tomahawk Operator, you still can play co-op. I was searching for an opportunity to play it, and I found a co-op version on the Russian site and played some with my buddy. That's awesome. How far did you get into it, Tomahawk? Did you have a desync? Did it crash? How many turns were you able to get into it? Total Wars Master will be right back. Fear Marshall says Napoleon is different era. You can't really compare them. Yeah, you know, I do think of Napoleon as almost a saga game. That's almost how I feel of Napoleon. It's like the one saga game that they got right, if that makes sense. Because, and why do I say that? Although Napoleon is not as played of a game as some of the other Total War titles, you go on and you can see how many players play Napoleon. It's definitely not anywhere close to Empire. You have thousands more that play Empire daily. But what Napoleon has is a very strong and active multiplayer base that constantly play the game, such as Total Wars Master is one of them, that are very active in Napoleon's multiplayer. So I think where Napoleon is right is that because of the optimization and because of some of the things, and we're going to get into some of the fixes in just a minute to stress on that, but having the servers act a little bit better for multiplayer definitely helps on that. Siberian Productions as an Empire modder, I don't know if it will happen. Empire's engine is just not fixable enough. I appreciate you for being in the stream, Siberian, because definitely modding is not something I have any knowledge on, and excuse me, a lot of the topics that we're discussing, I don't know what they can fix. So having somebody that has modding knowledge would be great. Luke King says, yeah, I learned to do basic modding, but it requires software and is compatible, unlike Rome Medieval. Modding is, I was trying to look into it and I almost pulled all my hair out trying to figure it out. So bless your heart for being able to mod, Siberian, because it is no easy task to do, and that's for certain. So anybody that's able to mod for Empire, I definitely have a lot of respect for. Now, I will tell you, in my opinion, I wouldn't say never as far as being able to do it, because I don't know what they can go in and fix, what they can break and unbreak. If that makes sense. Maybe they can strip things out completely and then kind of start with a new foundation and then throw some of the elements that Empire has into the new foundation. Maybe that's how you remaster it. Maybe it takes that, starting with the new foundation and then just kind of doing it. And, you know, frankly, I'll be honest with you. Empire is a game that I would pay more for a remaster of Empire than I would for Rome. And I can't remember how much I paid for Rome, but I would pay more for a remaster of Empire because, number one, it is my favorite game. Obviously, I've got thousands and thousands of hours in it. So, I mean, maybe I'm more skewed than some of the other people, maybe even in this chat. But I would say that it is something that I think a lot of people would, because why? There's no other game that really touches like Empire does on the gunpowder era. Not even Napoleon. Napoleon doesn't even come close. Tomahawk says, I don't remember exactly, but not much because my friend was busy and we didn't play a lot. And you know, and see, that's the thing is, you know, we often find that sometimes difficult in multiplayer for Empire is, although it's not been as late, we've had quite a bit of luck in getting multiplayer games as the multiplayer community seems to be making a definite rejuvenation in Empire. Whereas it used to be we'd have to sit in lobbies for quite a long time before we got games going. Come on, Khan says, I love Empire. I do too. Empire 2 or Remastered? And see, that's the thing. Empire 2 or Remastered is the question. I would love to see this game remastered because I don't know that they're going to spend the time to do an Empire 2 anytime in the near future. And I don't know. I'm not getting older. I mean, I'm getting older and older, guys. I'm not getting any younger. So I don't want to sit around for the next 5-10 years to get Empire 2. I would like to see something done on Empire, this one, because I think it could be done quicker. But that's just being a novice and not really somebody that is on the know. So I know a lot of people want to see Medieval 2 remastered. Obviously, I think that would be a good thing too, but I don't think Empire should be left out of the fun. I don't know how much they can do to it, but obviously optimization of it, somebody like Siberian might have a little bit better knowledge on how much they could do to it, but I don't even know. So we'll kind of leave it at that. Anybody else want to discuss the optimization, the UI aspect of the game? Let's hit it up in the chat. Do you guys want to see Empire 2 or Remastered? What's the vote tally? Who wants what? A remaster or a Empire 2? And I'll tell you what, if we do get an Empire 2, what is most important to me, being a fan of Empire Total War, if we were to go with an Empire 2 versus a remaster, then some of the things I want to make sure that we do get is not the arcadey battles that you do get with some of the newer titles. And I don't know that that's possible because a lot of people are really seeming to go to that way. So maybe I'm just going to be the odd man out. Maybe the more of the customer base is towards what the newer titles are. But that's why I would like to see it Empire Remastered as well, so that you do take care of the best of both worlds and take care of all your customer base, not just a portion of them, if that makes sense. So I think that would be my answer. Why not do both? If you're going to do an Empire 2, that's fine and dandy, but outsource to another company like they did with Rome and get somebody else working on a remaster while you're doing your next games. I think that is the best option. Why can't we have both? If we get Empire 2, I hope it feel still like the original, if you get what I mean. I think I do, and I think that's how I feel as well. I want to see it capture, number one. The thing is Empire, I think, had the right pacing in the game. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. Because with the other games, the melee heavy games, you have a lot of units going straight to melee, obviously, and the battles just go rather quickly, which makes sense for those type of games like Rome 2 and Attila and some of the other games that they have that are melee strong games, Troy, all those. That might make sense that the battles are done faster and you get in and get out. But for me, I like the pacing in Empire now because it's all about maneuvering on the battlefield to win battles. If you stay in a static formation, then you're going to get yourself in problems. Even more so in multiplayer, you will not ever be a good player in multiplayer if you are static, meaning you never maneuver your troops around. People will simply pick you apart until you're completely destroyed. So I think with the pacing of a musket fired battle, it makes sense that the pace is slowed down a bit. But I don't want to say that it needs to get too slow, because I think that's a lot of the problems with Dark Mod, is that the battles get very lengthy. And I think that it slows the pace down too much. And I think that's a problem with most of the mods in Empire. They look beautiful. They add a lot. But when it comes down to it, if you are not going to be super aggressive in Dark Mod and just steamroll people, then the AI will build stack after stack after stack after stack, and you will find yourself in a constant grind that is just merciless to get through. So much so that it just makes you want to put it down and forget about it. Because who has the time to go through all those battles without auto-resolving them? And then what's the fun in just auto-resolving them? So I think that's some of the problems with the mods. I could be wrong. You can let me know in the chat below what you think. But I know that Gadea spoke on some of his reviews in the mods, and he feels kind of the same way. And maybe not in the same way I'm speaking of, but he definitely mentions pacing. And I think the other thing is that in a lot of the mods, they turn up the notch on artillery to the next level, to making artillery super OP, which I think has done a lot of damage to a lot of players in the game, because they've become even more static, sitting behind their artillery or sitting around their artillery and just letting the artillery win the battles for them, versus actually getting in there and fighting the battles with both a combination of artillery and your infantry and your cav all together. So I think that's some of the problem I have with some of the mods. Not that they're all bad. I just think that that's an issue for me. And that's why I mostly play vanilla. But I think that's kind of how I feel on it. So I think I haven't really seen too many other chats on that. So we do have people feeling Empire 2. No really saying remastered. So I think most people are kind of leaning towards wanting the Empire 2, it seems to me. But we're going to move along, as I think this is an interesting topic anyway, is fix this please section. These are things that I would love to see fixed in an Empire remaster. If we get Empire 2, says her, I hope it still feels okay. No, we already saw that. It isn't the number of battles, but the experience that you get from them, what makes the Total War Saga so great. And that's a great way of saying it right there. That is the absolute best explanation I can put. That's just beautifully said. So absolutely beautiful. So fix this, please. These are things that must be fixed in an Empire Remaster. They must. You cannot go without fixing these things. Small zone crashes. And what I mean by that is, if you are going to sign a peace treaty with a nation, let's take, for example, if you're Russia and you're in war with Sweden, and you sign a peace treaty with them, and you have armies in their territory, there is a chance when they kick your army out in the peace treaty, out of their territory, there's a chance that you will get stuck on one of them small islands where you have no ability to move, and it causes an in-turn crash. That is a big problem, because a lot of people aren't aware of that. Another small zone crash is obvious. The biggest one that most people do know about is at Constantinople, where the Ottomans are continuously trying to push troops over in from Turkey into or from Rumelia into Europe. They have that small little sliver of land, and they love sending all these stacks in there. And there's a point in time where they get so many stacks on there that they have no ability to move their units, and it causes the intern crash. So that's the Ottoman intern crash. But it can also happen if it's a Native American faction. It also happens when they sign peace treaties that you don't even have any anything to do with it. It could be that the two AI nations sign a peace treaty, and it kicks off one of them, and they get stuck on a little non-movable spot in the North American part of the map. So those are other things that cause intern crashes that must be fixed. Just get rid of those small zones that cause these crashes. I think that is probably a fairly easy fix, I would think. You could just make it so that the Constantinople is not right there on the section where you have to go through it to get to the thing. You at least move it off and make the land where you can move around it something. I don't know, but something's got to be fixed on that. Or anyways, or get rid of the water through it. Just make it to where they can go there and move across. All right, so I think I said enough on that. The next is reinforcements. Reinforcements are a big problem in battles. And why do I say that? Because if you're fighting a battle and you have your army with 20 men in it, and you got another stack or two that are coming in as reinforcements, and the AI has a couple stacks coming in as reinforcements, if they happen to come in at the same exact zone on the battle map where the reinforcement zone is, sometimes they will get locked in a battle off the map and you can't do anything about it. They get stuck there. And even though you have won it and there's just one more unit to come onto the battle map, it could actually cause you a defeat. Even if they only have 3 men left off the map in that unit, all that has to happen is those 3 men come onto the map, and then that unit routes off and you win the battle. So that's why I'm talking about reinforcements must be fixed. The reinforcement zones on the maps need to be fixed, that you don't have those type of problems. Also, other problems that happen with reinforcements, in Empire, is when you have units that are coming down out of the hills and the mountains and stuff, they get stuck as well. So it's not just if the two opposing reinforcements coming on each other. It can also be a really hard spot where they're coming in on the map. So I think that needs to be fixed as well. That's a must. Also, the servers, we touched on that a little bit. The servers need to be fixed, updated, something. Please, Jesus, do something about it. So we can have multiplayer battles that don't desync all the time. Something needs to be done there. Fort battles. Oh boy, let me talk about fort battles. This is a hot topic for me. I don't know about if it's for you, but fort battles are something that desperately need fixing in Empire. Even though, when I first got the game, I thought, oh my God, the forts look so cool and all that. I always wanted to see different designs of the forts, number one. Not just 2 or 3 different designs. I wanted to see different layouts, and I wanted to see the cities behind and such in the background, and maybe coming through the cities to get to the forts, those type of things. And you just don't get it. But The biggest problem with fort battles is that that you have a lot of slowing down of the game because of the what do you call it? How the pathfinding that the units have in the forts. So I don't know if the design needs to be simplified, where maybe the fort is in the corner of the map, something to that detail. I don't know if that would help, but the design of the fort battles needs to be completely overhauled, in my opinion. Her says, what makes Saga great for me is the whole aspect of building up your country and seeing it growing beautiful. The battles are very important too. I totally agree. To be honest, fort battles feel ridiculous. Yeah, and that's why I really don't play them much. I always lay siege and never attack. I let them sally out. I find the battles when they sally out to be far more enjoyable than just taking a couple howitzers and quick liming the whole garrison to death and only losing 3 men. A lot less enjoyable than having a pitched battle out in the field with the armies. Now, that's unfortunate. That's why I think that the siege battles need the maps, the layout of the maps need to be completely overhauled. Because if I'm not mistaken, the architecture of a lot of these forts is not necessarily how it's depicted in the game. Now, maybe the frontier forts, but a lot of the star forts, being the ones that I've been at, there's some parts where the walls and the floor are level. There's no ramp to climb up and such like that. You have different levels of the fort, but the walls in front of you are the same level of that whole level of the fort. And that's just some of the forts I've been in around Florida. Ancient One says, sieges are pain in Empire and gamey ultimate cheese. Yes, I totally agree there. Siege battles could be way better and more realistic. It would be awesome to see outer defenses. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The siege trenches, ammunition, and men, and the garrison staying low, not replenishing, etc. It's Iceni says it's weird. There's so much space in forts and no real settlement battles. Yet pathfinding is so bad. Yeah, and you know, I think that the pathfinding is so bad, honestly, because of the ramps that they have. They cause a lot of and also the platforms on the walls are so small. That's what causes a lot of the damn placement problems. Let's see. Fort should be an expensive and powerful building, giving more strategic importance than just being in every city. Yeah, that goes without saying, honestly. That is a true statement if I never heard one. Agreed with him. Yes, totally agree. Ewan says, has this been confirmed? No, this is what we want to see happen. This is what we want to see fixed in the game. This is what we feel is important to make Empire Remastered an actual thing. Or should it just be Empire 2? Yeah. So definitely not confirmed. Nope. But the reason I would like to see Empire Remastered first is I think it could happen a lot faster than we would get Empire 2. In my mind, that's how it is, because they have the they have the game there. It just needs to be fixed and tweaked and optimized and made to be better. And fixing a lot of things in it would take it a long way. So yeah, let me have a drink here of my sweet tea. Okay, so this is great discussion about the forts, though. I think what Field Marshal is saying is absolutely 100% right. Is you need the outer defensive works of the Star Forts. That's what's missing. Because if you've ever been to a Star Fort, there's more than just a square of walls. And then they kind of represent that with the large forts, where you have to cross over the bridge and such. I think it's I think the design is lacking. I think yes, they did have bridges, but they weren't so much like that. At least some of the forts I've been in the Americas, and some of the ones I've seen in Europe. But there's a whole lot of them. I mean, that's the thing. There is Star Forts everywhere. There is Star Forts all over the place, and you just maybe don't even know it. But all over coastal cities, there's Star Forts that have been built over. Do we need remastered or a remake? The Ancient One, that's a great question, and I think, like I said, the remaster I think would be a quicker out to get out than Empire 2. So why not have both? But let's get Empire remastered now. Next week, damn it. It's let's see, the chat is rolling, and I love to see that, guys. I appreciate all of you for joining the live chat. Of course, I'm not alone. I am here with the live chat, so I appreciate you guys hitting up the live chat. I'm going to try and spend a moment checking up on the live chat. Luke says you can okay, let me go back a little bit because I missed some other ones. Ewan says Empire is one of my favorite Total Wars. The pathfinding and the forts was just terrible. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about, is if you expand the ramps to where they're not just a little bitty thing, and you expand the platform on the walls to be more like what a Star Fort is in real life, I think you're going to have less pathfinding problems than you do on the current design. But I don't know if the forts need to be laid out so that they're in a portion of the corner of the battle map, something to make them even more defensible. You know, like I know, because I did it in my beginning days of Empire, corner camping is definitely a devilish and devious thing. You know, it's almost a guaranteed win over several stacks of armies. That would definitely make forts more impenetrable. But obviously, you got to give the attacking troops a little bit more edge as well. But that's why you research things like mortars. That's where mortars come in, frankly. Because I find mortars to be a terrible unit, in my opinion. But I think it could have a definite use in a fort battle such as that, where you give the fort the corner of the map, so you don't have as much crap and mess all over the place. You give them a super defensible location. You give the ramps a lot more space for the infantry to actually set up, so they can still maybe even fire by rank or platoon fire, or my God, something. I think that would go a long way, in my opinion. And then you make mortars super freaking expensive to have, so that you only want to recruit them when you're about to siege a damn fort. Okay, so back to the chat. I think they should add that in a remaster. Let's see. Trying to get back to where I left off. You always wanted to play minor factions like Hanover and Denmark. I do think that there's some mods that do extremely well with adding in minor factions, such as Empire Total Factions, which doesn't change vanilla. It only adds in the minor factions and even emergent factions as well. So if you haven't checked out that mod, I definitely recommend it. It is a great mod. anyways, Field Marshal says reading about real sieges like the Siege of Turin sound more exciting than what happens in Europe or in Empire. Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. When you fight a fort battle, it should be like a total experience. Like it should be like when you get on the map, it should be like, oh, fuck, we're in for a fight to take this fort because it's going to be a challenge. That should be the experience. That's just how I feel. And even if you are in a situation where, let's say, the defending army, you force them to sally out, I think it would be cool if you had to take a tactical position in that to win, almost like you have to take the flag in the fort battle or beat all the men. So maybe if they sally out in a new designed fort battle, maybe that they have a flag position that you have to get to hold, and that there's like some earthworks around it that are outer defensive positions for a fort battle. Maybe that would be cool. I don't know. Maybe not, but it's definitely something to consider, that making taking a city a hellacious experience. Nick Myers says, yay, they should just make the game like Empire Total Factions. Yeah, and that's the thing too. They should add, the ability to have a lot of these minor nations, because that's one of the most requested things. And why not? I mean, if you can mod it and have all the factions, then why not just add all of them? You can play anybody. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. Luke says it's tricky and it causes glitches. I don't know. I mean, shoot, but if you can't, add as many as you possibly can. I mean, maybe we don't need Dagestan. Maybe we do. But we need more than just what we got, because there's always that desire for people to want to play more. Let's see. Yes, it should be in the game normally. And says her. Assassin says the Empire is really underrated. It really is. And he also says 1 a.m. in Europe here. Sorry, guys. I know I'm keeping you up late. It's only 7 here. The Ancient One says, think for this era, you need lines of investment for the besieger. Yeah, I think the besieger should have a damn task to take that. I totally agree there. More multiplayer maps would be great. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Maps was one of the other topics next on the list. More multiplayer maps, and for that matter, more maps in the campaign as well. I think that would add to the experience. So, totally agree there. Definitely should be the reaction of, yeah, totally should be the defenders' reaction too. So yeah, I agree. I mean, when the attackers have a whole bunch of mortars shelling down on you, and you got nowhere to hunker down when they're flying over your walls, that should be totally your experience as well. So yeah, it should be that experience for both sides. A fort should be a formidable position, but if you come with the right tools to take the fort, then it could be a better thing. So maybe they should change it to where you can't recruit mortars, except like in Rome, how you have to sit there and siege them out until you a couple turns until you get siege equipment. Maybe that's how you should be able to get mortars. You have to wait for mortars to come up, and then you get mortars. So then you can't have freaking mortars in any other land battle when it's not necessary to have mortars, because I think mortars get overused by players like a crutch, a bad crutch at that. and it makes them bad players. So her says, and succession wars should be a thing. We're going to be talking about succession in just a second, because I definitely agree with that. Now, they do have a semi-war of secession in the game. If you play Austria and France and Spain, you can get a war of secession that happens when the king that you start with, when he dies. That's when they put the war of secession. But all that happens there is Spain declares war on you if you're Austria, or Austria declares war on you if you're Spain. So that's pretty much all that happens there. It should be a little bit better than that. So let's see here. Golly, there's getting to be a lot of chat here. I'm going to do my best to keep up with it. One thing for this area needs lines. Okay, we already did that. Let's see. Field Marshal says, instead of okay, I can just camp on the walls. Yeah, I totally agree. The camping stuff, we got to make things more challenging so that it almost makes it a penalty to just camp around on the battlefield. So yeah, and Field Marshal said what I said, so I don't totally agree. It's just usually one nation declaring war. Ewan says, what's your favorite faction to play? I have several. I have Prussia, France, and Poland, Lithuania are some of my favorite nations to play. Her says Hanover. Field Marshal says France and Spain. And actually, I enjoy almost every campaign out there. I find the Ottomans campaign extremely fun as well. Assassin says, I've been looking for UK trademarks. The Napoleon Total War showed up in 2020 April. Next to historical Total War game. So no, I'm curious. They're all pretty different. I like Austria. Okay, so anyways, let me get back on topic here. Okay, so I think we've gone over the fix this, please. I think we've touched on all that. So let's now go into possibilities. This is the part where I'm gonna blow your mind on some of the ideas that my crazy brain has as I've been growing my hair out. As you can see, I've been growing this big mop of a head of mine, and I've got some great ideas for things, if not Empire Remastered, but Empire 2 that should be added in the game. Now, you ready for this one? Let's talk Civil Wars, okay? Because I think Civil Wars would be freaking awesome to add into an Empire style game. And I think you can do this and kind of appease the people that want an American Civil War game without actually making a Civil War game. So here's my idea. I'm just going to pitch it out there. I'm just going to throw it there. Let's see who catches it. And we're just going to run with it, guys. All right. This is a Hail Mary. We're going to see if anybody catches it. All right. So my idea for Civil Wars in Empire would be, as you're building your empire and you've gathered this massive empire with maybe 20 regions, 30 regions, 40 regions, however many you get, to make matters more difficult, if you have a public order hit a certain level, and once you've researched up to a certain military tech, or maybe it's a certain thing on tech that you get to, causes you to have the possibility of a civil war in your nation. And what my idea for that would be, so once you hit that mark, if you don't manage your empire correctly and you have that civil war, then half of your factions that you hold turn over to a rebellion empire as a new fictitious nation and maybe it's a similar map to your, a similar flag to what your flag is, but they're like a rebel faction that has broken away from your empire, and you got to go back and take these fools back over, or you side with the rebels, for whatever that they're fighting for. So maybe they want to be more industrialized, or maybe they are for something else. But if whichever side wins, the empire turns more over to that style. So I think that would be really cool, and add a quite a bit to the game, especially the late game when it gets a little more boring. Having to fight off the possibility of having a civil war, something to look forward to. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, it happened in Rome. I think it could work very well in Empire, where you have that. So I think that's something that would add a lot. I don't know what you guys thinking about it, but I think it would be amazing if they did something like that. Her says, going with the Civil War idea, maybe they should add a loyalty thing from medieval Total War. That is a great point. That is a great point. Something to add, something that one side wants, that, like, let's say if you're building up too much industry, or if you're building up too much of this or that, building up too much military tech, then the rebel faction doesn't, so you have to either side with the faction that wants more military tech, or the faction that wants more industrial tech. And whichever one you go, and whichever side wins, you get set back in the military tech if you go with the industrial side. So if you're more economy driven, you get driven back in the military, you lose some of your tech. But if you go with the military and you win, you lose some of your economic tech. I don't know, something to that nature. I think that would be pretty cool. So Assassin says, imagine if Total War Empire went from the 1700s to the 1900s. I mean, it includes the Napoleonic Wars, and then American and Danish Wars, German and Danish Wars, Crimea. That would be a great game. Yeah, even though the dates go to that time period, you do get up to some of the tech that goes into that time period, but you don't have all the repeating rifles. So that's, I think, some of the other tech that was left out, and that's why prone position was going to be a researchable thing, because I think that was the intention, that they were going to add in repeating rifles and such like that. One way to implement Civil War could be in a similar way as religions. If you want to change the Republic, you have to recruit some kind of unit, like an agitator, to spread the idea of a republic. Yeah, that's a really cool idea, actually. I really like that idea. That is actually cool. So you could actually send it to another faction and cause a civil war in another enemy faction as well, or they could send them to you, so you get everybody, all the AIs, send them their damn guys over to your regions to cause a civil war. That would be cool. Her says that sounds great, but might be too ambitious. Yeah, it might, but who knows? We're just throwing Hail Marys and seeing what gets caught here. This is the fun of it. I think it is a great idea, though. The Ancient One says the Civil War would have to be have to be scripted for bigger factions. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think there should be a thing where you have to hit like a certain region total, and then like it has to be like half of the region split off. I think that is a thing that would be really cool. Let's see. Phil Marshall says 17 to 900 is too broad in my opinion. I think the problem going too far into the 1900 period, in my opinion, is that when you get into the repeating rifles, it makes the line formations obsolete as we know them. So that kind of defeats the purpose. So I think keeping with the musket firing units, at least keeping that tech there. Maybe you can go into the 1900s but still have the Empire tech, just like you do as the game is now. Yeah, definitely is 3 hugely different eras. Definitely a lot of technology improved, and warfare and tactics changed quite a bit. Her says, I rather want the game only set from 17 to 1800, but with a lot more detail in the factions, uniforms, events, etc. Yeah, and that's the thing I think that most people love about the game, that I at least get from you guys and other people, is that it's the whole feel of the time period, the uniforms, the all the infantry standing together, firing muskets, the artillery, the cav, you had all. So I mean, that feel is like no other. I mean, you can't get that from throwing catapult rocks all over the place. I mean, it's just not the same effect of seeing an explosive shell land in the middle of a unit. Am I wrong? Or seeing the wall in a fort explode and the guys go flying in the air. There's nothing like that in the world. Okay, so if we're talking totally unrealistic, hell, Marines were then. Marines then, man, I really wish the dual dynamic was more robust in the game. Like maybe something other agents could do, something other agents could do. I can't even speak right. Or the generals of armies, or something in the diplomacy space, not just intelligence and blah blah blah. Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I think the idea of having agents that would go and maybe cause a civil war and cause that disruption would be a really cool thing. I think that would be very, very cool. Now, the Civil War topic in the regions is really cool, but I also have another topic I want to talk about, and that's the Native Americans. Now, the possibilities, first of all, let's talk about the Native Americans in the game. The Native Americans, mostly in the eastern part, they didn't have really cav like they are represented in the game. They were mostly land forces. But I really wonder if they could have been done a lot better. And meaning that maybe to help them out, they should have obviously, the manpower that they're given there, like especially in multiplayer, you can recruit gargantuan armies of natives in multiplayer, and even in the campaign, they can send these massive armies of very large men, a number of men at you. Now, the problem is that they were never known to have the manpower that they have in the game. But I think that they should have been like just damn near OP units. Something almost like you face with the Mongols. Well, maybe not all their units, but you should have had several of their units that were just like freaking fantastic, that they could just like demolish line infantry in no time flat. But even more so, I want to talk about the Comanche, because I think we lost a big opportunity with the Comanche. Now, if you notice in the map on Empire, I don't know if I have hold on just a second. Okay. So in the map, I'm putting it up on the screen. If you look at Texas over here, you'll see that Texas is not what it is today. for those of you in America, you definitely know what I'm talking about. But Texas on Empire's map is kind of cut in half at a diagonal. And the reason is historically, that whole space that's empty, that has nobody controlling it, that whole space, not all the way north, but all that way into Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, all that was controlled by the Comanche. And nobody set foot in there unless they wanted to die, because the Comanches were absolute masters of the horse, and they were known to fire arrows so fast that they could shoot another one before one hit the ground. And that's what I think should have been done with that area. You should, if you traveled across it to get to New Mexico, I think you, out of nowhere, because ambush, they added ambush into the game, but there should have been like multiple stacks of Comanches in there. It doesn't have to be large stacks, but the Comanches, if they had like 6 units and you had a 20 stack unit, those 6 units were going to reap through you like crazy. You might have gotten through there with your army, but you wouldn't have got through there with much of your army, because their units should have been able to fire so fast with such deadly accuracy that they would have been better than a Ferguson rifleman in the game shooting. That's, I think, a missed opportunity, because the Native Americans had some extremely good fighters, especially the Comanche. The Comanche were feared by everybody. Other Native American factions, they ran the Apache out of Texas, pushed them all the way into Mexico. Let's see. I'm going to go to Field Marshal here, because this is a guy who knows a lot about history. If you haven't checked out his channel, I highly recommend you do it, because if you're into this time period, he does cover some great topics on his channel that I think you'd be highly interested in, including the Wars of Secession and the likes of that I think you guys would like. The French wars with De Villers. I think you guys would find his channel extremely enjoyable and informative. So check his stuff out. But I'm going to see what Field Marshal says. There aren't other tribes like the, I can't even say that, Cree, Obajiwa, etc. Yeah, we lost a lot of opportunities for a lot of native tribes that were left out. I know the mod Imperial Destroyer adds new regions and adds more of the tribes. Love that part of it. And I did look into that, but I still think even Imperial Destroyer did not get the native factions correct, even close to being correct. Because that was the first thing I looked at when I got Imperial Destroyer, is I looked at what it did to the natives. In particular, the Comanches. Because I think the Comanches, being musket firing units, mounted firing units, was not the right choice. They should have been bow cav that shot extremely rapidly with 25 ammo and extreme accuracy. I'm talking like 75-80% accuracy, and they shot as fast as Ferguson riflemen, had extremely good melee. I mean, they should have been just OP as hell. Extremely fast riding, maneuverable cav, because that's what they were. And that is a huge missed opportunity. Luke says, technically, there's a border with the Plains nations between the Upper Peninsula and the Huron territory, but only outline. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing with the Cherokee territory. Good points about the Comanche, says her. The arrow should be revised, in my opinion. And everybody agrees with that. The bows should be completely revised, because we're finding information from people like Lars. God, I can't remember his name. You guys might know. There's a guy on YouTube that you can find. He's an archer named Lars. He self-taught himself by reading ancient books about how the bowmen did, and like he went and he shoots the arrow from the right side, not the left side of the bow, because that's how he saw it depicted in ancient drawings, and he's very extremely accurate where he does all these trick shots. He shows that with movement and like people being on horse, like like what the Comanche were and the Mongol, that he shows how accurate they could be. Do you think the Native Americans could have a focus more on small scale raids and skirmishes than large scale swarm battles? I think that is the better direction. I really do, and I think that being able to recruit the units into European factions would have been the better route. But I think that it's a tricky thing. But could they hold on to the territory? I think what they should have been is somebody that, as you take over territories, that they are going to pop up randomly, like partisan fighters, and cause hellacious trouble if you're not doing things to respect the native factions in somehow, some way. And I know that's maybe hard to do, but maybe that's an Empire 2 topic, and not so much an Empire Remastered. But there's got to be some way that you could keep the natives in the game throughout the game, and maybe not have them as they are, because I know that them holding factions and stuff, they just don't last long. Even the AI, they don't hold on to their regions long. So it's almost like Saxony being in the game. Saxony, we love you being there at the start of the campaign at 1700, but if you make it to 1702 Saxony, you done yourself good, Saxony. You done yourself good, because you making it to 1703 Saxony is a tough feat, and sometimes it does happen. Sometimes Saxony takes over Hanover. It can happen. It can happen. But that's only if you're playing Prussia. If Prussia's AI, Saxony, it's been fun. Prussia's going to take you out. Prussia's going to take you out. And it's going to happen fast. Let's see. 4 turns per year, or even better, turn selector. Yes. 4 turns, but... Okay, so here's the thing. The tech trees. Okay, every time you click a turn, having the tech to improve your nations is something that's important for every click turn. Now, if you decrease the turns per year, or increase the turns per year to 4, or maybe even more than that, you have to have something to fulfill your desire to want to click that in turn. Because for me, I know the tech now in Empire extremely well. So there's a lot of criticisms about the tech in Empire that I think are unfounded, because all the tech is important to a certain extent. Whether you need it or not, some of them you don't. But some of them are very vital, and all the economic ones are vital to you being able to make money. The military ones you can get by without, with skillful battle play. But the industrial tech and the agricultural tech, which is vital to you building up your population, which is vital for you to be able to gain those extra towns, which are vital for you to be able to gain more income, for you to be able to support larger armies, so on and so forth. So all those tech are vital. So you have to have things like that to keep the player invested if you do 4 turns per game. So I think that's where some of the mods fail when they go to 4 turns per year, because they don't have the ability to add more tech to help you keep your economy going stronger. Because if you add the 4 years per turn, but then you make the tech slower to get, you really are putting yourself at a massive disadvantage to the AI, which already gets enough cheats on the economy. So let me get back to the chat. Do you think that aside from the names, I also feel like the landscape of the new world is way less interesting than it could be? I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily feel that. Maybe I will say I agree with you as far as the fort battles are concerned, because if you're doing the Road to Independence campaign, you get amazing fort battles, guys. Talk about amazing fort battles. The fort battle, I don't remember which one it is. It might be Detroit or I don't remember. But no, it's not Detroit. It's the one where you go up there and fight France for the fort battle. I think it's on the second stage or something. To get past the second stage, you have to beat that fort. But you have these bridges that you got to cross. You got the little houses and stuff around. You got the terrain that's a problem. And it's all going up a hill to where the fort actually is. And then once you get to the fort, you got the problem of the fort. That, my friends, is a siege battle. That was a good siege battle, because it could have been improved upon even more with what Field Marshal and I think Luke were saying about outer defensive works. Could have been added into that even more for forward positions for the French to hold and make that battle an even better experience. The Battle of Brandywine in the Road to Independence campaign is a great little battle. Great map. Why is it not in the campaign? Why do we not have more maps like that in the campaign? Those were great maps. I mean, just breathtaking. And actually, the Brandywine map, I remember when the game released, that was a, what do you call them? Little teasers that you get to play before you buy the game. That was one of those that you could play before you actually purchase the game. To me, that's kind of misleading, because you don't get that except for if you play a battle scenario realistically. And the Brandywine map is a great map. And it's more of the maps that we should have in the game. Frankly, that would have caused a much better experience for a lot more people. Tell me if I'm wrong. NSA, what's up, man? Nice beard. Yeah, you like it? It's going crazy. The hair's even crazier. I got my hair going really crazy, man. It's getting long. I haven't cut my hair since COVID happened. Lol. Let's see. GG says could add things like plague, famine, etc. to make the journey of the colonies in the New World even more interesting. Yes, absolutely. That was one of the things we discussed at the beginning of the stream. And you can see here we're discussing that. And diseases were in there, disasters, all those things, being able to capture prisoners, all those things were in there. So absolutely, those would add a lot to adding. It's all built into the game, for that matter. Just left out. Lars Anderson, there you go. You got it. Lars Anderson, that guy's a badass. Lars Anderson, that guy shows how bow warfare really was, man. I mean, we've been misled on thinking how people fought with bows, man. I mean, when you fought with people with bows, I mean, it wasn't easy. And the only reason that muskets were used so commonly is because they were cheap to be able to train people how to use them versus training somebody with a bow. The materials were cheaper to mass produce. So those are the reasons why things switched over to warfare. And speaking on that matter, to prove my point, why the Comanches were so strong in holding down by using the bow is because not even the Texas Rangers, nobody could hold a candle to them. Not until the repeating pistols came out. And the Texas Rangers, how they defeated the Comanches is they would carry 2, 3, and even 4 repeating pistols with them to match the firepower that the Comanches wielded with the speed of firing that they had. That is how they defeated the Comanches. It wasn't until they got the revolving pistol. And they carried 3 and 4 of them on them. That's impressive that they held out that long till technology finally caught up to them. Horse archers are a magic combination of mobility and firepower. Magic is definitely the word. I want to play the Crimea Khanate and go all around Europe with my archer cav armies like the Mongols. That would be fun. Field Marshal says it would be cool to see more active army building and fighting in the Caribbean. Love the fighting smaller battles and smaller naval battles. Yeah, you know what? That is a great point. You know, the some of the smaller scale battles are some of the funnest that you have, especially fighting the pirates and stuff like that. And I mean, you get a love of being able to fight that. So now I'm going to take it even further. So some of the things that I should have covered in the fix it please section is we should have, number one, I think I was going to talk about it on reinforcements and recruitments, but I forgot to put recruitment in there. Is recruitment. The colonial line infantry should not have been basically a line infantry just called colonial line infantry. We should have got units that had less quality than what their counterparts were in Europe. To force you, if you wanted more quality, to force you to ship them over from Europe. Because they had to. They had to ship their armies over from Europe to get the quality troops there. They didn't have the ability to recruit them in the Americas or their colonies for that matter. So if you were going to recruit from the colonists, your colonial militia or your colonial light infantry, as they're called in Empire, should have been way less qualified, with the exception of a few things. Now, there are some units that were well renowned. Obviously, Rogers Rangers, which is very well represented in the game. And the Ranger units, which are very well done. The Frontiersmen that the Spanish have, very well done. But the line infantry is the problem. They should have been either smaller units, maybe instead of like in the large formations, instead of 120, they should have been 90, or in the large, 160 for line infantry, and the Marines are 120. So, you know, that's the type of scale that they should have gone. They should have gone with the size that you get with the American Marines for the colonials. So it was smaller armies. The quality was less, but then you had the ability to recruit special regiments. Like, so one of the things that was left out in the game was the ability to recruit black soldiers that were highly used in all the wars, like the Revolution, the battles in the Caribbean, and also what do you call them? Caribbean. But in South America, indigenous armies were made up of course, of indigenous peoples and former slaves, and they had those should have been represented in the South American regions if you're recruiting from as Spain from those areas. And the same thing in the Americas. You should have had the ability to recruit former slave armies and stuff like that, where, you know, they fought extremely well, by the way. You could maybe, because they're not a formal army like you have in the colonial powers, maybe their ranged firing isn't as good, but their melee should have been extremely good. Just as the Rogers Rangers or some of the well-renowned musket firing units should have had extremely good ranged abilities, but very poor melee. Sorry, dry mouth. R. Squire says, would love remastered of this game, or even better, a sequel. Yeah, I think we need both. Let's just call it what it is. We need both. We need both. Number one, like I said earlier, because I'm not getting any younger, and Empire 2 is probably a long way off. So Empire Remastered should be quicker pathway to get to. Luke says, on the idea, there is provincial line infantry. Yeah, well, something needs to be done to improve that. In the Americas and in India and any of your colonies for that matter, you should have to recruit from the local population, or so like what Napoleon did is he had he recruited from the regions he took over. So and we know that mercenaries were a big thing during this time period, but it's not really represented that much in Empire, except for you get the bulky units for France that you're able to recruit in France once you've built up your capital enough. Swiss and both the Dutch and France you're able to recruit. But other than that, you're the Scots, you're able to recruit Scots and the Dutch, but you know, the Hessians you're able to recruit in America for the British, but you don't get too many other units that are, I guess, what do you call them? Mercenaries, which I think needs to be added as well. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but I think that would be pretty cool. Also, okay, so so I think that was what I was talking about the recruitment zones on the possibilities. Because the recruitment zones are completely jacked up. We got to get that fixed. It's got to be fixed. But I think those are things that would definitely improve the game. So now we're just going to kick it over to the live chat, because I've covered pretty much all I want to cover at this point. So you guys tell me, what are your ideas? What do you want to see if we remaster Empire, or even if we just go to Empire 2? What do you want to see? Squire says Britain should be able to recruit more Highland regiments, like in Napoleon. You could recruit up to 10 regular Highland regiments and the 42nd Black Watch, but in Empire you can only Black Watch. Now that's a very true statement. Very true. And maybe you have to recruit them in Scotland. Maybe that's a special thing that you have to recruit them from there, but it should be something that you're able to do. And I think it makes sense that you have to recruit them from Scotland. Irish regiments. They fought in South America for a lot of the rebellions. Irish regiments fought all over the place. Luke says Highland infantry are in files but cut. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You know, I'm not as familiar with all the units that were cut. They were the same as the Scots for United Provinces. You know, and that's the thing too. Like if Scotland becomes a emergent faction, they get sword wielding units, but they're not really. They don't really get great units to to recruit in the vanilla game as an emergent faction, which I think should be improved upon. Because frankly, Greece, when it emerges on occasion, when it becomes an emergent faction, actually has way better units than what Ireland or Scotland are able to recruit. And frankly, Ireland even gets better units than Scotland as an emergent nation. A bigger map that includes Asia. There we go. That is a great point, Ancient One. You know, add in those colonies in the Indies. Something where, you know, even if it's only a strategic island that you have to control, that makes it all the easier for you to be able to repair and replenish your ships. You know, it has like a dockyard or something there, some type of shipyard, a port, something where you can repair your ships in the Indies, and it has a fort. And it's even if it's something like that, you have like key spots, so it makes it easier for you if you control that island, then you're able to raid other people's shipping lines all the easier, or take over the trade nodes all the easier. So adding in Brazil. More ports in Brazil that are regions that you are not necessarily regions, but cities or islands that you have to take over. I think it would be immense to add something to the Asian aspect of the game, but Asian factions as well would be cool. The map should be extended to South America, South Africa. I totally agree. South Africa as well. That's forgotten a lot. And some of the coast of the continent, as well as Asia, the Indonesia, the Philippines, Japan, and China could be commerce endeavors. Yeah. So I think that really is an amazing thing, that even if we had just like a region or two that you control in the Asian territories, that you have like, maybe you have like Chinese raiders that come over and fuck with your trade because they're not happy with you European bastards being over there doing trade. Something like that. You know, even if you have that, some kind of inclusion, that maybe, like I said, is what the Native American factions should have been more like anyway. Let's see. I think there should be able to deploy Marine task force to build like colony empires. Yeah, and adding Marines is another thing, because the Americans are the only one that have Marines, but yet many other nations had them. Britain, the Dutch, you know. So that's a great point. Let's see here. Also, guys, please don't forget about the live chat. We're getting a lot of great messages in here. If you are in the chat, don't forget to hit up that live chat. Let's see. Squire says increased number of settlements in certain nations, such as France, is made basically only Paris, England, London, Spain, Madrid, etc. Yeah, you know, that's a very highly requested thing, is splitting France into a couple more regions. And that is a great point and something that is high up on the list for a lot of people. Fix the France map. So another person, yeah, Ancient One says, fix the France map, not just one region for mainland France. All those regions, says Law Fabrica, all those regions had many conflicts in this area. Yes, totally. So Alsace-Lorraine shouldn't be the only faction other than France that France has. All around Flanders, there's those regions were hotly contested and switched hands quite a bit of time. And yeah, so definitely France splitting it up into several regions. Spain as well. Spain should have been given more regions. Totally agree there. Fix the France map, not just... okay, where are I talking about? Mark says, also, where is the main chat at, not YouTube one? I'm not sure what you're asking, Mark. The main chat, not the YouTube one. I'm a blonde, so even though I got a lot of gray, so I'm probably a little slow on that one. Bro, way more naval battles would be amazing. Yes, that I agree with. I think a lot of people don't like the naval battles, but that's why I've done a lot of tutorials on the naval battles to help people, because naval battles are probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the game and can be quite a bit of fun and quite a bit of challenge as well. It gives you a great ability to say, I am the master and commander, because it definitely gives you those like fist pump moments where you're like, hell yes. Those are the moments I love about that. Bro, way more naval okay, we don't e.g. Twitch chat or TeamSpeak. Okay, so as far as Twitch, like I am I don't have Twitch. So that's probably, I don't have TeamSpeak. I do have I have groups on Steam that I have. So if you want, you can hit me up on Steam. Now, as far as some of the other things, what's that damn thing called that I hate so much that I had to join, which I didn't want to. Hold on, I gotta go to my thing and find it now. The one that everybody's freaking using, Discord. I've joined Discord, but I did have it before. I didn't want to join it, but I actually submitted to CA to become to be able to be legitimate for posting their content, and to do it I had to have a Discord channel and link to their Discord. So I don't know a thing about Discord. I hate it. Like Total Wars Master had me on there for a little bit, and we both got off there. I'm not a boomer, by the way. I'm a Gen Xer, but I'm a total boomer when it comes to Discord. I can't figure that crap out. It's too complicated. I find Steam way better. Steam's just simple and easy and bliss for me. Simple is bliss. Max says, I like the challenge of where do I put my ships compared to the wind. Yes, absolutely. But in both Empire and Napoleon, once you controlled the sea, other nations didn't really build many navies. I don't know. See, in Empire, the beginning of the game, what's fascinating about naval conflict is you can really start out strong if you have a fifth rate and start dominating the seas. And and absolutely just make a mockery of everybody else's fleets and make a lot of money doing so. But when they start researching and they get the ability to get bomb catches, it changes things dramatically, because that's where you start losing battles, because it's not a guarantee win when you face a bomb catch. Can I beat them? Yes, absolutely. But I'm going to lose ships sometimes doing so. And it makes it tougher because now I got to dictate recruiting more fifth rates or capturing more fifth rates to be able to maintain my fleets, where typically I am very economy driven and I only hold one port where I can build naval ships. And that's it, because I'm super economy driven, because I feel like I can capture the rest of my fifth rates to sustain my fleet. So once nations are able to start recruiting bomb catches and rocket ships, it really changes the scenery in the naval battles, so much so that it pushes you back. Like, you can have complete control over every trade node, and then you start slipping and you might end up getting pushed back from almost like a third of your trade nodes, just simply because you're having to recruit more ships, because where you used to be able to control the seas with a fleet of just 2 fifth rates per section that you want to control, now you got to have 5. And that's a lot more money to maintain fleets like that too. So I do think with the Empire that they did well, whether it was intended for or not, of causing that change in technology, causing problems. Technology that other nations get starting to cause you problems. You don't really get it too much on the land battles, but in the naval battles, it's really done well and extremely well. Let's see. Mark says, never mind. I'm sorry, Mark. Ancient One says, DLC that focus on specific conflicts, not just independent campaign. That is what we're talking about right now, Ancient One. That would be cool. That's why I've often thought like a DLC covering the Crimea War or the Civil War would be very popular. But I don't know. It seems like everybody shied away from wanting to create a Civil War game simply because of the controversies in America surrounding the Confederate States of America. Even though it is a historical game, I don't think it's that controversial in my own self, because not that I'm sympathetic to the South, because I'm not. I am in the South, but I'm not sympathetic to the Confederacy whatsoever. But I think if you have World War II games with Nazi Germany being represented, then you should be able to have a game representing the Confederate States of America. Anybody that has a brain knows that that what they were fighting for was wrong. So that's why I don't understand why they don't make it a game for the American Civil War. Let's see. Mark Lawrence says some of the ideas should be like making your own nations, like making German Empire and such. That's cool too. And not just that. Often, I know this is maybe off topic, and maybe I'm the only one that, or maybe I'm not. Here's another Hail Mary. I'm going to throw it and see if anybody catches it. But I almost think it'd be cool to be able to have your own emergent nation. Like, let's say you start your empire and you get to a situation where you have that civil war or that rebellion, and you could choose to break away from the empire, but you're It doesn't mean you're taking the whole empire. Maybe you just start off with one region, and then you have to fight back, and you're this new fictitious emergent nation of or that actual, like, if, like, let's say for example, if you're Poland, Lithuania, and you have a rebellion, and instead of being siding with the rebels and taking over the whole region, you have another option where you become the nation of Galicia or something to that nature. I think that'd be cool. There's a good Civil War battle game, but it lacks empire building. Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, I used to play a few Civil War games back in the day, way back in the day. I used to play Civil War Generals 2, turn-based game. I thought it was pretty fun for the time period, but just wouldn't hold up to today's gaming. Let's see. But yeah, there's that Ultimate General Civil War General game. I'm not so much interested in that one. Let's see. Should colonial units have slightly less manpower as well? Maybe 10, 15, 25% less due to the number. Yeah, I do. And I think we were touching on that a little bit ago. But I think, so for example, if you go with the largest size manpower, you're in Europe, your line infantry has 160 men. That's on the huge size units. But if you recruit, like if you're America and you recruit line infantry, of course it's 160. But then when you recruit a Marine, it's 120. Or well, Grenadier is not. They're 90. But so instead of getting the 160, I think it should be like 90 men to show that scale, that drop in scale. I don't know that going down to the size of a Grenadier unit would make sense, but going down to the size of maybe a Marine size unit, I think that would make sense. It would definitely scale it back a little bit to where then you could have native factions with smaller amounts of men, and that's more realistic, and the battles make more sense. And then also, I don't know about you guys, but shipping armies across the sea, you just don't do it a whole lot, except when you take an initial landing force over. So, it's almost realistic in the fact that most of your men are going to be bogged down in Europe fighting wars until you've solidified all of Europe. Then you can start sending stack over stack and stack and stack over to the Americas or India. But if it's early campaign and you're Great Britain, you can't continually send line infantry over from Europe because they're going to be bogged down fighting wars in Europe, just like they were in the real world time period. So I think definitely I agree with you, Iceni, that the decrease in the numerical amount of people that you're able to get in colonial line infantry would be vastly important. Plus the quality of marksmanship should drop a little bit, and maybe even their melee, with the exception of specialized units that you're able to recruit, like former slave units that have great melee, or because there's many historical units, and you would have to do research to see which particular unit that you name, what they were able to do to decide how much statistical abilities they're given. But I think that would be a better scenario as far as the recruitment in the Americas. Max Campbell says, should you be able to play as pirates or something. It's not very big, but it would be cool if you could recruit other pirates, though, trade deals or something, more along the lines of Barbaries. Yeah, I think that would definitely improve. Definitely, if you had added more nations to the nations that you're able to control, I think one of the most popular choices would be that people would want to play as the pirates, because who doesn't want to be a pirate, and I think they should have a different play style, where maybe they're never meant to be a big empire, taking over tons of regions. If you're able to do that, then you're a great player. But maybe there's certain goals that you have that make, like, so for example, if you're France and you conquer the regions, like you have to take the Cherokee territories, and you have to take the Iroquois territories, and then and one other region, I think it's Michigan, and then you get all of your Louisiana to come over to your empire. Instead of doing something like that, maybe you have goals like if the pirates take over a couple regions, then they're able to now start being able to open up trade negotiations with other nations, because pirates aren't able to do that because they're at war with everybody. So maybe then you're able to start recruiting research and doing all the other stuff. Maybe you have something like that. I don't know. Just throwing a Hail Mary out there. See if anybody catches. So that's just my ideas. Max says, like an Attila, roaming factions. Well, that would be cool. I think your idea is probably better than mine. Roaming factions would be very cool. And I think that's what the Native Americans should have probably been. Well, at least some of them. Not all of them. Julian says, include China and Japan faction. That, I think, would be very beneficial to a lot of people's enjoyment, especially adding Japan. Using the idea of Mark, there could be decisions that you could use to form new nations. For example, as Colombia, you take all of Latin America, and then Gran Colombia get to be special units. No, I think that's a great idea. I really do. Like I think what Mark was saying was, like, if you could form the German Empire, if you take over all of the German states. So what La Farica is saying is like the same thing, but in South America. So you almost, I think what, like, oh God, what's his name? The guy is named, Bolivia was named after Bolivar. Bolivar was trying to do the United States of South America, I believe. So maybe you're able to do something like that. That would be cool. And historical, too, because they tried. More realistic scale for naval transport. No entire doom stacks on one merchant ship. Yeah, that's a good question there. I think that is a good question, because if you put an army on there and you just put them on a merchant ship, that's a risk, because you're going to lose a lot of men if you get stuck on a battle. So that is a risk. But maybe you're right in that you have to have a couple ships to be able to transport. I'm not sure whether that... I'm not 100% sure on that, though. Whether that would be doable. Because I think that's one of the biggest problems that Dark Mod did to vanilla, was it, to me, ruined what naval battles had done for Empire. Completely destroyed it. Made naval battles completely useless. It made any kind of tactical thinking or strategic thinking in transporting troops across land, across the sea, completely gone, because you can pretty much move across the whole map with one ship and avoid any naval conflict at all. So I think that was a big problem that Darth Mod did to the game. I think that, to me, that is the biggest crime that Darth Mod did to vanilla. I'm not trying to be mean to Darth Mod, because there is good things that Darth Mod does. It's definitely not my favorite mod. But I think it's beautiful to look at. The graphics definitely look better. But yeah, I just think that was game breaking for me, for Darth Mod. Hessians should not be recruited directly in the Americas. Maybe only in the UK, or only in have the alliance in North Germany nation. Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that, because you had to ship them over. I think if I'm not mistaken, what they're going for is that they did recruit them, so it the British did have access to getting them. So it's almost like what the Bulkleys are for France. You're able to recruit them in France versus sending somebody. I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I could see it working either way. Mark says we should also have custom flags for units, either customized or historical. Okay, so that, I think, would get a little confusing as you're fighting the battles, because you would have too much going on. I think you're better off having different color uniforms and making the uniforms more unique, and maybe the small flag that they carry. Maybe they have an extra or a smaller, the guy that carries the flag in the actual unit, not the actual unit flag, that the bigger one. Maybe that. I think that would be better. But I don't think that the big flag should be different. Definitely not. King, I appreciate you stopping in, man. You have a good night. Shipping units, Marines, if the ship is damaged, there should be a noticeable death reduction in the stuff. No, that's a great point. There definitely should. There definitely should. I totally agree with that. Max says it would be better to edit things in the detail, like unit names, or allow people to almost imagine their own. I totally agree. I think that's a great idea, Max. I think customizing units would have been a fascinating thing to add to the game, and could be added to Remastered. I really think so, because if you're able to customize the color of your uniforms, the name, the look, and that kind of stuff. Heck, I think in newer games, what they should go for is like, as you're fighting battles and stuff, you're able to gain that experience and that renown with your unit. I think that would be cool too. And as you lose battles, you lose some of that. Because I know you get it with your chevrons, but you lose them when you lose men. So I think some attributes should be lasting as long as you have the unit, not because, like, what I mean is that if you get a chevron and you lose a certain amount of men, when you recruit more or replenish the unit, you lose some of the experience. Let's see. Max says also renaming ships. Yes, that would be cool. It'd be cool to see the name on the ship and the animation too. Luke says, "Can you rename units?" Yes, you can rename units. So Ancient One's got to go. I appreciate you stopping in, Ancient One. I really do. Mark says, "Add a unit flag with the national state flag." Yeah. Like I said, I think that could work on the small flags. Lewis says, "What about Empire not copying and pasting the same faces?" And okay, so that's a great point, because in Rome Remastered they really did a lot to not copying and pasting faces. Supposedly you won't see the same face. It'll be harder to find the same face. I think that is a must. Also in Empire, that would be awesome. So the graphic upgrade would be just amazing to see in Empire. Totally agree there. Asini says, "I hate Discord. I can never find anything on there. Had to use it the other day to get some info on a mod." You and me both. Discord. I'm sorry, guys. Me and Discord just don't get along. It is so unuser friendly. I mean, I don't know. What am I not getting about Discord? What am I not getting about it? It is like, whenever I pull it up, I'm like, what the is going on here? I can't figure out how to do a damn thing in there. So I hate Discord. Hate it. You should be able to exercise your units if you're doing nothing with them, so that their statistics like morale, melee, and reloading can be increased. There. That is a great point. That is a great point. So when we're talking about interns, and if you add more years, there should be like something that you're gaining every intern. And that right there, that comment, something I never thought of, but that is a great point. And that's a way that you could really make every intern mean something. Now, imagine if you took your units into your one of your regions, and you had a unique building that you had to build in your capital for training your troops. And if you brought a unit in there, you had to spend X amount of dollars, like, to upgrade their abilities a little bit. You know, that would be cool. Just like in Rome, how once you, like they have better armor and so on and so forth. I think that would be really awesome. And I think that's a great idea. I think that's an amazing idea. Old Contemptible says, "Hey, Old Contemptible, how you doing? Actually having a Steam workshop would be a massive boon to the game. Would make it and its mods more accessible." I 100% agree there. Oh my God, some of the mods in Empire are a nightmare. Oh, I'm looking at what is that damn mod's name for Empire? Shit, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look this up now because it's gonna burn in my mind if I don't find it. So I'm gonna go to ModDB. It's the one that hold on, I'll tell you in just a second. Talk amongst yourselves while I search this. It is The Rights of Man. The Rights of Man. The Rights of Man. Can you make it any harder for us to put on our computer? Jesus. That one, I cannot get to work. Yeah, so the rights of man. Golly, yeah, we need a mod. The mods on Steam Workshop. Totally agree there. Oh my god. Okay, so Zeno, how you doing, man? I'm doing great. How are you doing? Old Contemptible says, I have not had the problems on it, but it did take a bit to work with its interface. I have that with a lot of modern websites. Yeah, trust me, I do too. Old Contemptible says, having a working multiplayer campaign would be great. Yeah, we talked on that earlier. That is definitely something that needs to be put into the remaster. Fixing that multiplayer campaign, getting that done would be huge for the community. Huge. It would definitely help the multiplayer community. Okay, so here's the thing about older games. I think older games sell better if you have a better multiplayer community. I think the better your multiplayer community is, the more you're going to sell it, because people want to get into that interaction with people. That's just my opinion, though. Minor Factions Revenge is a good mod. I seen he says, I always have to create a new account on Discord because I use it so rarely, but many modders have switched from Total War Center to Discord. Yeah, and also, God, it's like everybody's wanting to communicate on Discord. Like, Discord is buying up some people to get the market share here, which is pretty crazy. I don't get it. I don't get why their platform is not more user friendly. They're becoming so popular. You think they would put a little bit of money into improving their platform? I mean, it only makes sense, but apparently not to them. Let's see. Cena says, I arrived late. What's going on? Is there news? No, not yet, but we want it. We want to get Empire Remastered. We're just kind of talking about what we would like to see improved. And if not, what could be done to Empire 2. But mostly this is a Empire Remastered talk to what we would like to see improved about the game if they did an Empire Remastered, and why it also makes sense for them to do it before any other game. After Rome, of course, because they're obviously doing that one already. But nope, there's no announcements yet. Rights of Man, it was then I'm not sure what you're asking about the Minor Faction Revenge. Hold on, I must have missed something. Okay, so also, yeah, no, there's not any announcements on Empire Remastered yet. This is merely a discussion about what we want to see. So, yeah, no announcements. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, the small zone crashes. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maybe you're talking to somebody else. Last week, Microsoft give them a deal of 10 billions, but to Discord, that's they refuse. Yeah, see this Discord. I think somebody else was wanting to buy them out. I don't remember if it was Amazon or somebody, but yeah, Microsoft too. That's amazing, but I don't know. Discord is becoming pretty huge. It's definitely gaining a foothold in the social media platform, but they need to, if they're wanting to stay on their own and not sell out, then they need to start making themselves more user friendly if they want to continue to expand, because definitely older people can't really figure it out, and I'm sure some younger people either. Oh, which mod? Oh, it was Rights of Man. Yeah, that was the one I was. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, sorry. I'm one step behind. Yeah, the yeah, Discord, that's a pain in the butt. But anyways, I think I've pretty much discussed everything I wanted to discuss. I'm getting pretty tired. We've been over 2 hours, so I think we can wrap it on up. We'll just hit up the chat here. It'd be good for the community to have Empire coming back as remastered, or if there would be another Musket time period Total War game after 9 years with the Fall of Samurai. Yeah, you know, time, we are due. We are due for something. And that's why I really feel it makes sense for Empire to get the next remastered treatment, even before Medieval 2, which would be the most logical because it was the next released after Rome. But I mean, I think you've satisfied a pretty good chunk of the Medieval 2 fan base by remastering Rome, because it's fairly a similar game. It's almost like remastering Napoleon and Empire. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It's almost like if you remastered Empire and then you remastered Napoleon right after it. Unless it was just super easy and real quick for you to get out like a snap, then I think that it makes more sense for you to remaster a dynamically different game from Rome. Lewis, hey Lewis, how you doing? It'd be good for the community to have Empire come back remastered if there would be another Musket time period. Okay, I already said that. See, I'm getting tired. Old Contemporary say on your screen thumbnail of your screen, it says into cut content optimization UI fix. This please, small zone, etc. What is small zone crashes? Okay, so small zone crashes. So what small zone crashes are is if you are at war with a nation and you sign a peace treaty, but you have armies in their territory when you sign the peace treaty, obviously all your armies get booted out of their region and go back to yours. Now, in some areas on the map, such as in Karelia, I think there's some spots, and in Finland, there's some spots where there's little islands that are attached to those regions. So once you get booted out and you get put into one of those regions, there's a little spot that you can get an army stuck on that they won't be able to have any movement. So when you hit the end turn, they get stuck. And the same thing, the more popular one is in Constantinople, where you are, if the Ottomans are sending large amounts, several stacks, and they get bogged down in that little space, and then when you click the end turn, it's called the Ottoman crash, where the intern takes forever because they can't move their men. So it just gets hung up and it crashes. So that's pretty much what that small zone crashes are. It also happens with Native American factions where it'll get bogged down. So like even if you're not fighting them, if they sign a peace treaty with another AI nation, and they got armies and it kicks them out of their region back to their region, and there's a small spot that they get stuck at, then it'll cause a crash. I think honestly it was in Legend of Total War's Blitz campaign, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it was his Ottoman campaign that Legend of Total War did, that he almost lost his it was the Ottoman campaign. He almost lost his campaign because it was the native faction that did it to him, that caused the intern crash. So he got with the community and somebody told him about the movement bug. So he was able to go back to earlier save and go back and wipe out that faction before they caused the intern bug. So it's things like that. So certain nations can cause an intern bug, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. So it tends to happen later when you get more and more units on the map, when the AI is starting to produce lots of stacks. That's typically when it happens. They get stuck in little spots. So there's little slivers of places where they don't have the ability to keep moving, or they get stuck close to a land bridge because some other unit's blocking them. Stuff like that. Those things. But there's some that I know you can't change, but there's definitely like the Ottomans at what do you call it? I'm so tired I can't even think. But at Constantinople, there's got to be a way you can fix it where that doesn't happen there by adding more land to that, something, just so we don't have that crash. So Max says, why should Empire Total War be redone and not Medieval 2? Okay, so I think Medieval 2 should be done as well. But I make the case that Empire should be before Medieval 2 because, number one, Rome is a very similar game in a lot of ways to Medieval 2. Now, there is definite differences to Medieval 2, but you're talking a massive departure from Rome would be Empire. So I think that if you were to do another remaster so quickly after doing Rome, I think it would make sense to do Empire next and then go back to Medieval 2 following that. Now, do you need to do Napoleon? Probably not. Do you need to do what do you call it? Shogun 2? Probably not. Those games are pretty good. There's not really any complaints about them. Maybe in another 10 years you do. But right at this moment, I don't think you need to do a remaster of Napoleon. I don't think you need to do a remaster of Shogun 2. Definitely Medieval 2's got the age, but I mean, Empire is not that far after the release of Medieval 2. You got to remember, it came out in 2009 was the release date for Empire. So, and Medieval 2 was 2007 or 2008. I can't remember for Medieval 2. So, we're only talking a 2-year difference. And frankly, Rome came out in 2005, if memory serves. So, Empire is a very old game. Very old. And it's way different from anything else that they've put out. I mean, let's think about it, guys. The case I'm making why Empire Remastered should be next is because what are the games that we've gotten from CA lately? We got Thrones of Britannia, a melee game, in basically the medieval time period. We got the Three Kingdoms, which is, it's really not much different from other melee games. I mean, it's got differences. I'm not going to say it's not. I've never played it, so I don't have a lot of experience. But I think that then you have Troy, another melee time period game. We haven't had gunpowder since 2010 when Napoleon. No, we had Fall of the Samurai, but I don't really count that one too much. I mean, it had some, but it's definitely drastically different. We haven't had an appearance in over 10 years from musket firing guns in Total War. You can say at least over 10 years, if not more. So that's why I think that it makes sense to clean up Empire. Number one, not just for that fact, but number two, the most important thing to me is that the game is not optimized. The game needs a lot of fixes. Not saying it's not a great game. I think it is a great game. But it could be even better if it was fixed quite a bit more. So why not both? I think they should do both. Exactly. I totally agree with you. They should do both. So Old Contemptible's right. I'm sorry, Medieval 2. Sorry, I'm getting tired. So yeah, Old Contemptible's right. Why not remaster both? Medieval 2 should get a remaster. It absolutely should get a remaster. But yeah. Okay, so 2006 for Medieval 2 is when that one came out. So I guess it came out. I thought it was. Maybe I thought it was 2007, but maybe it was 2006. All Contemptible says, I thought it is a toggleable thing in Shogun thoughts. Okay, you talk about the FFA. Yeah, but multiplayer in those two were pretty garbage. Empire Remastered even sounds catchy. It does kind of sound catchy. Okay, so another thing, like reason why it should be before Medieval 2 is when you consider, again, we already touched on this a little bit, but I want to touch on it again. Medieval 2 is already praised and lauded for being a great game. If you go around, you'll see almost every YouTuber talk about how Medieval 2 is the best Total War game ever. So wouldn't you want to fix the game that gets the most criticism? That's kind of like the ugly stepchild of the brand, which is Empire, which unfairly gets criticized by everybody because it's convenient. Because, okay, I'm going to talk about this because it's going there. We're going to go there. So there's only 10 people, but you're going to get a feel for it now because in the chat. But we're gonna talk about something. So there's I check out a lot of Empire content on YouTube, a lot, and I seen there was a new guy, a new YouTuber that posted a review of Empire, and he's not the only one. It seems like everybody is posting reviews of Empire. Now, there's a couple people that have posted pretty positive reviews of Empire, even lately, have posted a decent review of Empire. But almost all of them have, with the exception of one, have many negative things to say about Empire. Many negative things to say about Empire. Always getting blasted by YouTubers constantly about Empire this, Empire doesn't do this right. Alex the Rambler is the only review I think I remember seeing recently. It was 10 months ago. I'm looking it up right now. That he did a review. And I remember, I could be wrong, but I remember his review being very positive to Empire, which is not the norm. It is not the norm for Empire to get a good review. Most of them are going to be very negative. Now, Gadia had a retrospective review of it 10 months ago as well. And I thought his review was pretty darn good. Now, he still had some negative things to say about Empire, but he also had some positive things to say about Empire. But you'll see that there's, if you just do a search on Empire, you know what's funny to me? I remember when the game came out, Angry Joe did a review on Empire. It was Empire Total War Kicks Ass. And he just raved about Empire, raved about it. And then after there started to become people posting reviews about it negatively, then here comes Angry Joe with his part 2. Oh, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that good. Blah, blah, blah. And I think that's a lot of BS in my opinion. So, yeah, that's why I say Remastered Empire should be before Medieval 2, because it gets so much criticism. You would want to fix the game that gets more criticism than any other game. Even if it's not entirely justified, I think it would go a long way to improve the perception that people have of Empire, because even if it's not justified, if the perception is there, it's a reality. No matter if it's true or not, it doesn't make it so. But if it's a perception someone has, it's their reality. So you have to change people's perspectives on how they view things. And I think that's why Remastered for Empire should be before Medieval 2. And I will rest my case. Empire Reconquered. Yeah, that would be cool. You got to go something unique. That would be cool. I like that. Full map Empire Remastered. Yes. We would love that. We would love it. Fire by rank is great, says Renee. Fire by rank is definitely great. It's a great tech to get. So there's other reviews. So speaking on reviews, I've seen a lot of reviews where they complain about Empire's tech and how most of the tech is worthless in Empire except for one tech. That's canister shot. And I'm like, and then some will say canister shot and fire by rank. And I'm like, really? That's all you can come up with? I mean, there's a lot of tech that's very important to get. More so than that, the one they forget about is Dragoons. Being able to get Dragoons, that's a huge tech to get. I mean, what the things you can do with light Dragoons to be able to get that tech? How could you say that canister shot and fire by rank are the only important things? That's coming from somebody who has no clue about the game Empire. They probably only got 100 hours and they're doing a review on Empire Total War on YouTube like they have some kind of clue what the game is. Get a life, people. That is ridiculous. That's what I can't stand, is somebody's got 100 hours wanting to put up a review like they know everything about Empire just because they heard it from 10 other YouTubers that, oh yeah, this sucks about Empire. You don't know nothing. Shut up. Go home. We don't want to hear what you think. That's what I think. See, now I'm getting rage. Don't be throwing dirt on my Empire. I'm coming for you. If you do, I'm coming for you, YouTubers. Anybody throws dirt at my Empire. If it's called Definitive Edition, why not a bunch of backlogged, unimplemented work? You know, okay, so when they did Definitive Edition, I must praise CA for one thing. That when they did it, they gave everyone all the DLC to the game for free if you didn't have it already. If you did, great. But they just went ahead, and if you own the game and you didn't have all the Regiments of the Americas or whatever DLC you didn't have, they gave it to you. And I had it all, so it didn't matter to me. But what was cool is there's a lot of people I played multiplayer with that didn't have the DLCs, amazingly. So when they got that was cool. It upped their gameplay because they were able to recruit units like Bulkleys and Coldstream Guards and stuff like that. That was pretty awesome. So that's amazing that they did that. So, but Rome was a definitive edition as well. Before it went, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think they made Rome a definitive edition as well. But I could be wrong on that. I could be, but I don't know. So I'm looking. So I don't want to be wrong too many times in one night. No, they called it the Rome Total War Collection. I almost thought they made a definitive edition, but maybe I'm wrong. But I know that they made Napoleon a definitive edition. No research is needed in Empire Total War. It is an easy game. Well, I could say that about every Total War game, though, Total Wars Master. Do you need it? Need is the key. Need. You don't need it because you can do good battle tactics and win. So you don't need it. But does it make the experience better by doing the research? Hell yes. It definitely does. And I can make that argument for Napoleon. That you don't need it. And I can make that argument for any of the other games where you're able to get tech. Do you need it? Maybe not. I'm sure there's people that have done campaigns where they did no research and finished campaigns. I'm sure it's on YouTube. So you don't need it, but I wouldn't say it's Empire's an easy game. I definitely wouldn't, because many people that started out, myself included, didn't find the game easy at first. It was through experience, or other people's experience for that matter, that made the game easier. Because it has been out for so many years, and you're able to get a lot of experience from other people putting stuff on YouTube to help you through some of the harder parts of the game. Almost so much as saying a game, okay, so games like I used to play, like, let's say, for example, way back in the day playing Super Mario Brothers 2. Okay, that's not a hard game, but you know what? Other people found ways to get all these extra lives that made it all the easier. But I never would have found that without having someone else show me because they found it from a book that told them or whatever it was. So that made it easier. So definitely made it easier. So yeah, tech or the ease of the game. I don't know. I'm not buying that because it's not necessarily easy. It's made easier because people are out there helping you out. But for all these guys out there who post their reviews of how Empire's trash and how Empire this and Empire that, blah, 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 it's cheap. You guys I want to see how many hours you got. I want to see what experience you got to be saying that Empire is a bad game. I would love to see that because I bet you they don't have any experience in it. I bet you they got 100 or 200 hours and they're coming off saying, I played Empire for 120 hours and this game is trash because of this and that. Oh, really? Have you ever experienced an intern crash? Oh, no, but I heard about it. Okay. You know how often I have an intern crash? Barely ever, because there's ways around it. There's ways to prevent it. So, I'm sorry. It's just a cheap thing because they know it's popular for people to shit on Empire. And it's just bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't care who it is, what YouTuber it is, how many subscribers they got, how much power they got, whose feelings I'm hurting. I don't care. People shitting on Empire is just cheap. It's just like if I was, there's a difference between saying that you don't like something and then saying a game is crap. That's a different to me. Way different. Old Contemptible says another thing is the farms and other tech are quite important, especially in the longer campaigns. Absolutely. Tend to put some of the empiricism college so as that's the first one I do, empiricism. And for that matter, that whole branch of filling out that tech tree, that's where your growth comes from. Is getting your enlightenment, because that's what improves your growth per turn. Because your economy won't get better until you start to, because I will say this, every region, I think almost every region, if I'm not mistaken, starts off with negative increase or negative gain per turn. So that means when you click the next turn, your regions are going to gain less tax revenue than the previous region. The way you can improve that is by building roads, researching enlightenment tech, and dropping the taxes on your upper class. That's the only way you can promote growth in your economy for your regions to actually improve your growth. That's why when you understand the economy in Empire, it's always best to lower the taxes on your lower class at the beginning of the campaign, so that you can gain more towns. Because also when you build more, your industrial tech gives you more growth per turn as well. So then and only then do you start gaining. But yeah, you have to do that to gain your economy. In the late game, after you've built all your buildings, lowering your tax on your lower class, that helps you gain all those buildings. Buildings, those towns that aren't there yet. When those towns have come out of or have been established, and you can then start building something there, then you can increase the tax on your lower class and decrease the tax all the way on your upper class to continue your growth, and you'll start making buku bank Buku. Buku, baby. Let me get back to the chat. Total Warrior Master. I tend to, okay, we saw that. I've gotten decent at pike and shot from the slightly longer early phase. Yeah, it's fun to do that too. It definitely adds to a challenge. So Total War Master says he just uses infantry and rush. So lowering taxes at least by 1 to gain wealth. That's on the upper class. You got to make sure to specify lowering the taxes on the upper class gains wealth. But lowering taxes on the lower class helps you to, again, be able to establish, it increases your population growth. So once you've gained the population to form new towns, once you've formed all your new towns, you can then increase the taxes on your lower class. Excuse me, and then decrease it all the way on your upper class. Because that, man, your growth starts going really good then, especially when you got more regions. It turns out to be a lot of extra per turn. You can get a lot of money going, lot. But anyways, guys, I'm getting exhausted, and I think this has been a great discussion. This has been a great stream. We've had a lot of great discussion here, and I appreciate you guys all for joining. Had some great discussions. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. I certainly have, and I guess that matters just to me. Just kidding. But I appreciate you guys all. As always, I am going to sign off and crash and go right to sleep, probably. So you guys helped me out, tiring me out here so I can get a good night's rest. I appreciate that too. Anyways, that's all. I appreciate you all. Good night. Have fun on Empire, and we will see you on the next one.